of freedom in front of me. So I will start on this day. The rise of kingdoms to come, and we will no longer be named by the weather above. So rain down all you want, but our power is in the sun. And when our planets do align, our nation will become victorious.
Let it be, all that weakness, rest in peace. I learned about the recipe when I was younger, recklessly. Now I'm chasing the glory, gonna be fine. Working so hard, matter of time. Never give up, how we define. Taking my chances, breaking a climb. I'ma show them how it's done. On the top level we run. For Osiris, for my son. We show up and pack a punch. This is war. We step up, we gon' never fold. This is legacy, they gon' know me when I go.
So rain down all you want, but our power is in the sun. And when our plans do align, our nation will become victorious. Swords where you stand and spit upon the ground. But when those horns sound off, pray to the Lord, you've been righteous now. I say rain down all you want, but our power is in the sun. And when our planets do align, our nation will become victorious.
This is war, we don't stop, what's in store, where we start, we deploy. They don't wanna see us win, so we gon' show them all the voice. To the top, we enjoy, when my partners don't avoid. Want the glory, silence noise, here for life, made a choice.
The smoke clears the air. I'm the only one standing. The darkness lifts. There lies the freedom in front of me. So I will start on this day. The rise of kingdoms to come, and we will no longer be named by the weather above. So rain down all you want, but our power is in the sun. And when our planets do align, our nation will become victorious.
Let it be, all that weakness, rest in peace. I learned about the recipe when I was younger, recklessly. Now I'm chasing the glory, gonna be fine. Working so hard, matter of time. Never give up, how we define. Taking my chances, breaking a climb. I'ma show them how it's done. On the top level we run. For Osiris, for my son. We show up and pack a punch. This is war, we step up, we gon' never fold. This is legacy, they gon' know me when I go.
So rain down all you want, but our power is in the sun.
Welcome. Good morning, everybody. Redline and I are gonna be casting over the championship match, week 1 in the Bastet realm today with W244 and GV77. Red, how's it going, buddy? Good to see you, my friend. We're doing it
Hey,
again.
Bobo, what's up, buddy? What's up, community? Hope you guys are doing well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Another one again with me and Boba. This is gonna be a good matchup, man. With the bets right now in the Osiris League bets is pretty even in favor of 77, but Boba, with the bets, I think it's gonna be a close match, man. I'm really excited to see this one. We just came off a really exciting match with 1021 and 1V with your prediction of 1021 coming out on top, man. So I hope we'll get another amazing match coming up, dude. How are you
Yeah.
doing?
I'm doing good, man. Coming off the hype train of that, and I'm hoping that it's only gonna get better. There's just something about Basta and Sobek. Like I know, the real hype is usually behind Horus and Anubis, but there's something nostalgic about going back to the roots. And
Yeah.
seeing those Sun Tzus, those you see some of the combos, and I love seeing Eddie rallies. Like it's awesome to see, and I'm excited to see what Bastet has to bring. I believe this is going to be our first cast in the Bastet realm.
Yep.
But either way, I'm excited to see kind of what they're bringing with these top tier teams. We got a couple of minutes before the match starts. Man, I want to ask you, but I do. It's been so long since we've played in using some of these commanders, talking about it. But yeah, just overall in general, from these teams, I know that they're younger. So what are some tips and tricks that you think you would like to kind of share with them on if they're looking to improve their team moving forward as they grow into the Osiris League?
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, looking at the two teams right now, we got what, 2244, and then we have 77. They are newer kingdoms, but I feel like they they've been around a little longer enough to hopefully know. Like I'm hoping that it's these two teams are definitely elite in their realms. 2244 is definitely, we in 1254 we've seen them a lot in Season of Conquest. So I I they're very top heavy, and I believe the same thing goes for 77. So I think that these guys are, putting it down when it comes to getting their commanders ready for the championship match. So I think that um, with them not having this championship experience yet, this is going to be something new for both teams, and they really need to really look at what they've done in the past and to get to this point. Look at what other teams are doing in the other realms, and hopefully take the win today out of its best of three, man.
Yeah, and I agree. We're gonna dive into and show the screen here in a minute, but just before, I think it just comes down to kind of practice. I know that we talk about it a lot, right? The more
Practice.
serious you get, practice, working on those timing. The timing is huge as you start to get into different realms, and I'm interested to see those rotation times. And how they kind of adapt and do all that kind of stuff. So, Red, we're gonna switch over real quick to the cast, and just show some of the powers going right now. I did turn on the audio, so we're going to hear a lot of grunt. Well, actually, we're not going to hear any grunting. Oh man, we're not going to hear any of that. We're going to hear some Sun Tzus. We're going to hear a bunch of stuff. So, but as we're looking right now, power wise, like you were saying, both of these 3.8 billion power, like 3.8. 3.5, like there's no joke here, so I'm interested to see when they start showing those players to keep our eyes on, like you were saying, if they're super top heavy, kind of what are we looking at, if the low is really low and the top is really high, how are they going to balance that out with garrisons and field fighting? But yeah, with 10 seconds left, Red, man, we are about to get into week 1 Bastet realm. You ready, brother?
Let's go, man, and good luck to both teams. Let's put on a show, baby. Let's go.
All right, let me get back in here real quick and bam, watch, enter, and we are in it, ladies and gentlemen. The graphics are, I just love it. I think this was one of my favorite aspects of the game. I almost want more, but fast, like at a faster rate. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I know they're starting to release those, Red, on social media, like the
Yep.
graphics for KVK, like just having like little snippets of that and highlighting, I think would be really cool.
I'm liking it, man. I really do. I think that they're definitely making improvements in there and definitely getting more involved with that. So I'm loving it, man. I'm really loving it.
Yeah, and you know, as we're looking, I'm gonna try to pronounce some of the like some of the names, you know, but forgive me if I butcher it. You know, we do the best that we can. Occupation 35 provisions, you know, that had to be a solid provision, just an empty game right there. But kill score, oof, look, 783,000. Oof. But yeah, there's some sleeper ones in there to get that kind of stuff. But you know, here's the tale of the tape: 61 OT. So W244, very awesome to see. They actually took out last year's champions in 61 OT. That was the team that won 61HX. They moved over. So that's a huge notch in the belt, which kind of gives them a leg up. You know, I know that y'all in TR competed against 1021 going up, and it's really not until you kind of clash swords that you really honestly know kind of how you do. But yeah, Red, you know, just off of pure curiosity, what were your favorite marches, man, back when we were running these? You know, we didn't really have, did you play Arc back in the
Oh
day?
man, yeah, since the very beginning when it came out, buddy. Like, you know, I guess you can call me a vet. A good vet? I don't know about that, but I was definitely a vet, you know.
What were your
But
favorite marches?
I mean, because God, it's been so long in the very beginning, but I think back then, you know, it was all about Saladin. I used Genghis Khan. I even had Minamoto out there in the past, buddy. Um, so like, you know, the name of the game is cabs, in my opinion, when it comes to Arc. I think a lot of teams now are running three cab marches. You'll see a lot of CCs out there because getting to point A from point A to point B is really important now. And especially like if you're taking structures and people are using Jen and Jedwigas, if you take that structure, they're using a lot of fast cabs, man. So I think that we're going to see three cab marches from these players, as well as maybe one archer, one infantry march, or they can switch it up to have a leadership march like a Trajan, because those are the meta now, man, in the middle. Because we did fight 1021 in the middle, and their mid combinations comprise of so many different things, but we always saw Jones in the middle. We always saw Guan Scipios. We had a lot of Alpha Flags mixed with Trajans. A lot of great combos that buffs everybody in the middle, man. And I'm hoping that these teams are going to take those notes from the previous championship match that we just saw and to all the matches that we had during this championship run, to get them to win today, man. Because it's I these teams again I'm not very familiar with, because you know 2361 was a champion last year, so I'm really excited to see these two upcoming teams go head to head in the middle.
Now that I think about it, did the rules change for them? I think the rules had to have changed because I
What do
don't
you mean?
remember. I remember Baztet being commander locked, and they are no longer commander locked. We're seeing actual combinations. Baztet and Sobek traditionally are commander locked, and they are not. We have Guans, we have Nebus, we have Zenobias. So we're
Oh,
seeing that could have been a huge shift because in the beginning of the league, and I know that we've talked about this before, the beginning of the league, they're commander locked. They're commander
got
locked.
it.
And so that's why it threw me off when you were talking, because I was like, my boy, there's gonna be Richard Garrisons and Charles Garrisons. And then I look right now and they're running out with Zenobia. So the rules must have switched. We are gonna see XYs coming out as
I do see Saladin.
hey,
I do see Saladin.
we're not complaining, you know what I mean? Like it's more action for us, boys and girls. And as we see the break off right now, you're seeing the typical, we're seeing Jones, XYs, Scipios. You're seeing everything under the sun, which is a little different. It's a little different, but hey, it's okay.
I think Boba, like I think this realm might have everything available. I think Cast It. Hopefully I said it right. Might have the one been locked. We have 45 realms now, Boba. I'm kidding. We have like 4. But you know what I'm saying? So I think the last one was locked, and I think this one was the most recent one that was made available.
Okay. Well, either way, ladies and gentlemen, the battle has opened up. We're seeing marches pour out as well, kind of diving around to see. They're going to start reinforcing these obelisks. Marches are marching forward, and the audio will start getting a little. Y'all let me know, guys and gals, if the clashing in game is a little loud, and I will turn it down. But yes, we are going to be casting over this. It should be absolute madness. Now that I know that we're going to have some epic mid fights now, this is going to be a very, very interesting for sure. But yes, chat, make sure if y'all haven't already and y'all enjoying the Osiris League content, don't forget to subscribe to the official Rise of Kingdoms YouTube channel. Definitely go and check us out if you haven't already. We're both content creators for Rise of Kingdoms, and definitely smash that like button for sure.
Yes, sir. But you know another thing that I've noticed every single match, but like never knew how important it was at the start of the match. Everyone's sending out their marches out to the desert altar, to the shrine of life, to the obelisk, whatever the case may be, right? The little seconds that caravans that spawn around those areas are so important, man. And like that can really like be a difference of like 2-3 seconds, because if you're trying to send all 5 marches out, right, you got to click on the thing, you got to wait for a little circle to pop up, and then you send the march out, right? But if you have a caravan, you can just spray those babies out, like. And if you look at it, man, like a lot of these like caravans are just popping up in like amazing spots for all teams. Like they're just spawning them out, like. And as I'm saying that, man, look at the bottom left obelisk, and 2244 is going for a little play here. They got a rally coming in. They have multiple cab marches, Boba. I think they're going for the obelisk play here.
So here's the weird part, right? I think if they were going to go for it, this as we see this city start to port in, that's why the need for XY rallies in this situation is usually key, because of the speed, right? The speed aspect, you're marching across the entire field. I do like the idea. The issue is now you have cities porting in, so now they're going to start swarming down this rally, without any regard to their own march life. But I do like the play because of the amount of marches it dragged towards the obelisk that are no longer on that bottom side, going to be around this desert altar. But it looks like that play kind of confused them, as we're looking at the bottom side desert altar now. Those marches that would have gone are no longer there, so we could see GV77 potentially take advantage and try to push up, but it looks like they're just going to engage and start fighting.
Maybe it looks pretty like strictly defensive on the 77 side. I mean, that was a good play. I mean, it did delay some teleporting, right? It still is delaying some teleporting, but I don't know if it was going to be detrimental. But with 15 seconds left for the structures to open up, Boba, we could see some first caps from the 2244 side. So let's see how in the next 8 seconds, if 2244 was able to flip maybe some first caps from that push.
Yeah, and I do like what I'm seeing from GV. The aggression. I think as you they get a sneak in from W on the top side altar. And they get a Zenobia in there. This is going to be painful to take back. And they have plenty of reinforcements around the structure.
Yep, you see? So like the disruption there, like if they can hold on to these structures, you know what I'm saying, or at least continue to delay them from taking it back, those points matter in these kind of matches, right? Because all championship matches, have been less than 10,000 points between two teams. So that could have been a huge help on the side of 2244, man.
Yeah, and I'm looking right now. We're flipping over because I do see 3 altars on the side for W244, and it's one of those, man. It's like the aggression's paying off for him. I do like it. As we see that bottom side altar now flip over, but with a little over 6 minutes before a con garrison. Let's go. 6 minutes before that arc spawns. Now they got the Xeno. We're going to be looking at rotating mid red. And so what are these two teams as we kind of wind down to that first rotation? What should the viewers be looking for right now?
I mean, right now, like around, I would say the 5-minute mark, both teams start rotating in. So right now they're going to suicide their marches like on the opposing structures. And if you look, Boba, on the left side, Shrine of War, 77 is doing that as we speak now. But because I'm thinking, though, with 5 minutes left, with them possibly taking this, right, with the amount of marches going in, with no rally and support, it looks like they could be a little late going into the middle to refresh. But we should see that rotation in the next 5 minutes. But I definitely think both teams are going to test this arc because it's pretty even, in my opinion, when it comes to the structures. Even though now 77 has 3 altars, they're flipping them back and forth. So I think it's going to come down to some arc fights in the middle.
Yeah, and that's the interesting part. I think if they would have had a rally on this Shrine of War, I think it would have done some pretty good work, because the Swarm is already doing a lot of work against the Xeno. But if they get a couple reinforcements in here, all these marches are going to be gone. So that rally was really crucial. Would have been really crucial to actually taking this. So, but those you got to shoot it. It looks we might be speaking too soon, and they flip it.
they flip it, and then what's so it's 1 minute? It's a 1 minute turnaround time, right? So the chances are 2244 is going to take this back, but that's another minute that they have to wait for it to come back. So is 77 right now going to take advantage of that? Maybe engage early in the middle, but if you look at it though, like there's those 77 marchers that just took the Shrine of War. They're trying to suicide now, man. By the time they get to the middle, it'll be about 2.5 minutes left. So is this going to be in their favor? I don't know, but we'll see, man. Because positioning in the middle is very important, getting everybody there on time. And I see a call rally on the left side on the W244 altar. That's interesting to me. And those marchers are not going to make it to the middle, man, because that rally is going to take a few years to get done.
Yeah, man. You know, Pakal's, I know a lot of people like Pakal, like for certain situations, like when you're trying to just tank. But on Osiris League, I know we talked about it before. It's just a matter of, you know, you're just trying to hit it sledgehammer style. You know what I mean? It's you're either gonna take the structure or you're gonna get murked in an attempt to do it. And Pakal really doesn't do that. It sustains really well, but doesn't really pack much of a punch. So I know I looked in the middle just a second ago. There wasn't very many marches. So we're going to keep our eyes on occupation right now as the altars are still constantly flipping, but are 2-2 now. But GV with a slight lead, 700 or 600 points right now. So, you know, we're going to see whose mid game is going to be stronger for sure with 3 minutes left. It looks like W244 is already starting to approach in middle, and GV is slowly, that delay coming in from those swarms is going to make sure that probably they're going to be pretty late coming towards middle. For
Yeah,
sure.
I think they're both being kind of late. And remember, everybody, this first arc is 3,000 points. So a lot of teams will they'll either focus on getting the first arc and make it an arc game, or just literally give up the first arc and go for occupation. Looks like both teams are going for the middle arc, but you have to remember there's still a lot of people in their home. What do you call it? The home base that haven't teleported up front yet, right? So those people are. Based on now, they're gonna be late, man. It's like first day of school. They're not gonna make it in time. So they're definitely gonna not show up on time. So we're gonna see who's taking advantage. But right now, in terms of numbers, Boba, I think 2244 has those numbers in the middle.
Dude, I think they've been watching you, Red. We're pulling out Caesars already on this top side altar, bro. We're pulling out the Caesars, baby.
Hey, he got the museum buff. He got the museum buff.
They ain't playing out here. They going for gold. But yeah, we're watching these structures. We're gonna flip in with 2 minutes left. Let's see how these the murder balls are looking in the middle. They're building up. They're building up, but there's definitely a lot of marches still on the outside lanes with 2 minutes left before this arc's gonna spawn. The W ball looks like it's a slightly bigger, but at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to skills. So that first arc pop. Red, you know, what are the skills that our viewers should kind of be keeping their eyes out for, and what you kind of expect to happen for both sides?
Man, I think right now we're gonna see skills mirrored each other. We're gonna see some war drums. We're gonna see some mystical formation here. Those are like kind of the first skills that we see usually in the first arc. And then the next ones will have the more advanced skills. I mean, I'm hoping to see something like Bog Down. You know, that's just from my opinion, but I think that's what we're gonna see, chat here. That we're gonna see those skills getting popped off. And right now, both teams are still trickling people in, with the people in the home base still coming in. There's a lot of people coming from the 77 side from that home base, but the same thing goes for 2244. So we're gonna see, man. This is gonna be really interesting to see which team here takes the first arc.
Yeah, and so usually what I always say is, if your team is super heavy into mid game, you got to be prepared to lose some structures, right? And the objective is if you're super heavy in mid, just being able to neutralize some structures and at least not let your opponent capture all 4 altars and hold them for 5-6 minutes is going to be super beneficial. And so that's why I keep looking up at that map, looking at what structures are flashing. I do see the red Shrine of War flashing right now. Let's take a look, real quick peek. Zenobia, ooh, she might hold on, but we're gonna see as the skills are starting to get popped in mid game. The fights are resuming. Oh, Red, and just like you said, both of the skills got popped from war drums and mystical formation, bud.
Dude, and another thing that I noticed when I played against 1021 and they demolished us in the mid fight, right, was Joan primaries followed by Nevsky's, you know, and I'm seeing that a lot on the 77 side. 2244 has a couple of them, but I think 77 has taken that to a core of what Joan can do, being a primary march in the middle, and I'm wondering, will that be something that will be a game changer in the middle? Because something about the support tree that Joan has and other skills that kind of, I guess, mirror what Nevsky has are really important. But with that, Boba, 2244 was able to get the first pull here. So they did bring a little over to the side, man. So that's a little advantage for them. But there's a lot of sad faces coming from blue.
And I think this is where equipment really shines, right? And that's for me the kind of the ultimate decisive, like where it changes a lot of stuff is the gear, right? You can bring the same marches, but if you have it optimized a very specific way, you'll see the difference in a lot of battles, especially the synergy between those murder balls. And like you were saying, seeing so many Jones, we see it a lot in Horus, especially with 1021, where they're bringing a ton. They're switching up the meta, and sometimes it has to deal with, you know, maybe everyone running a specific accessory, running towards middle, like the drum, as opposed to the ring and the horn. You know, I don't necessarily know how all their equipment is in Bastet for sure, but equipment will play a bigger role as you start to go up and up in each realm. So we're going to keep our eyes on that for sure. And now I'm seeing equal sad faces going out on both sides. I'm not sure.
I think 2244 has this, man. And they have 4 altars, Boba. And they got 4 altars. So they definitely committed people to structures, and we're still able to kind of take this mid. So what is 77 going to do? Are they still committing people to the middle? Or did the call come and say, all right, we're shifting the structures? Because they definitely did not win this mid fight. So GG to 2244 on this first arc.
Yeah, you know, and sometimes the skill usage was the same. These marches are like, it was tight. Look how these are all red and yellow, super close. But if you are GV, you know, you lost round 1, that's okay. That's okay. It's not a make or break arc. The difference with the first arc, and the more important part about the first arc, is it allows you to dictate the pace of the match, right? Do you want to insta capture it? Do you want more, you know, multiple arcs? Do you only want 2 arcs? Do we want to hold it? You know, are we losing our structures? If not, you know what I mean? Like it allows you to dictate and control what's going to happen in the match.
Yep. And you know, I'm not a fan of holding it, right? If you're dominant in the mid like that, like, keep it coming, right? That's what I think. But right now, the match is pretty even with 3,000 points. They are gonna put 2244 in the lead, and the points per minute is still in favor of 2244. So if they do hold it, I think GV77 has to take advantage of this and continue to put aggression to these structures to kind of cut that lead away for that first arc, man. Because this here is now they're gonna play catch up.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you on that one, man. It's you know, you lost the first arc. The more important one for me, outside of, you know, we know the first one is important for dictating the pace. That second one is really going to decide whether or not, you know, it's a GG's and it's over, or whether you're going to be able to claw back, because those mid brawls are going to be intense, because you are now going to be unlocking those advanced skills like we were talking about earlier in the match, to the death, Heaven's Grace, you know, and kind of seeing, and it's always fun trying to see the high form arcs in Bastet and Sobek. When it comes to skill usage, it shows that they're actually watching game footage on Horus and those top tier teams, and Anubis as well, to kind of pick up on, you know, a Heaven's Grace. You know, nobody used to use it. Everyone was always to the death nonstop. And then you started seeing the Heaven's Grace getting mixed in that combo. So it's going to be interesting to see how this next one's going to rotate out.
Yeah, agreed. And as we were saying that, right, so 2244, the arc carry just jumped in the node to pick up to drop the arc and then have a healthier march pick it up. So, and that, Bulba, from my understanding, and then hopefully, you know, I'm saying this right because, you know, supposedly I'm a vet, right, of Arc of Osiris. But when you jump into a node with the arc in your possession and then it falls to the ground because you can't obviously bring the arc into the caravan, that resets the arc timer. Am I correct?
It doesn't. They actually updated that one. So the only way to reset it back to 15 minutes, and it's common, like when you see it in mid game, right? You pick it up, you die, they pick it up, and then you'll start to see that if you watch the timer, it will reset back to 15. That is the only way it will reset back to 15, is if they pick it up and then you kill them and then pick it back up.
Got it.
The opposing team
has to pick it. Got it.
It effectively switched hands, which resets the timer. So if you get killed and they don't pick it up and you re-pick it back up, it just resumes where it's at. So
Got it.
that avoids the stall, and that it used to be where you could constantly just do that, and then they tuned it up to kind of fix that. That way teams couldn't do that.
Which makes sense, and I think that it allows the game to continue being competitive versus someone resetting it for 40 minutes straight, right? So that's great. And Boba, I knew that answer. I would just testing the community because I'm a vet, right? So I should know this.
Yeah, no. You're it's all good, brother. Sneaky tactics. I feel you.
Tactics.
Even when we don't use it, we're using it. I feel you. But yeah, we're looking at these structures right now. GV is starting to apply some aggression on the bottom side as they're pushing up towards this Shrine of War. And man, oh man, like it's one of those, like, you want to try to force their hand, but like you were saying earlier, at this point, the best way to force their hand is to occupy as many structures as possible, mitigate that arc, really cut that deficit down so that first arc isn't worth as much. Yes, they can still dictate, do everything, but you're not going to be losing by 3,000 points at this point. But they are still up, which is not what you want if you're on the side of GV. You really want to try to increase these points per minute to try to push this a little bit.
Yep, and also, Bubba, if you look at the top of the screen where the teleports are, there's 2 teleports available for 77, right? And timing is everything, man. If you're not paying attention to little details, you got to get those teleports moved up so you can get those marches out there faster. So I'm hoping that someone in Discord is like, hey, 2 teleports. Who's scheduled to come up to teleport here? Yeah. They need to get on top of that, man, because 2 people coming from home base still, that's about what? Good solid 2 minutes. So they definitely need to kind of make those people aware who are supposed to teleport, come up forward and help engage these structures and cut that 3,000 point lead when the arc turns in to a smaller deficit.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. That's why those gate block strategies that we always see are so crucial, because Cav, while yes, Cav, it's probably like a minute and a half from starting zone to mid game. Your infantry marches, anything that you bring like that, you're looking like a 3 minute plus march from the starting zone. So it's crucial that you get up, especially when you're going to be rotating and focusing towards middle. It's a huge difference between your Cav march taking 45 seconds to march from the obelisk to mid, or a minute and a half or 3 minute. Like it varies your time a lot, pretty drastically. So I do agree with you on that one for sure.
Yep. And as we said that, Bobo, the teleport for you. So if you're watching the stream, thank you so much. And make sure to like and subscribe to the Rise of Kingdoms official channel here, because me and Bobo here, we're putting out those little tips. Yeah. Hopefully you're listening and picking those up and using them for your advantage.
Man, and we're watching the structure game. 2244 is looking really solid on their occupation. They're very aggressive. I do like that on the side of GV they are holding 3 altars right now, so they're trying to at least attempt it. But holding it is a whole other story, man. When you get high enough in this competition, holding structures it feels like a labor of love. Like you're just constantly pouring. And I know that you're always running on one of the sides, and it's mass chaos in the comms and everything. But
oh yeah, and most teams now, Bo, are running one voice channel. In the past, I've done 2 things. We've done all one voice with all 30 players, and then we've done separate voice channels with different lanes. And for the chat who don't know what lanes are, is obviously the 4 lanes you have, left, mid, right, and then outside right lanes. And basically, each lane has a leader. But the tough part about that is that these lanes need to communicate with each other. So it's always chaotic if you have 30 people. But I think most teams now are doing that for all 30 voice channels, because the leaders need to speak to each other and everyone mutes themselves. So you got to be very good on the communication side and have very good chemistry to make sure, like things that Bulba mentioned, of holding structures is really important with key communication for each of these lanes.
Yeah, and man, they're holding for dear life. And as we say that, the arc was captured while you were chatting, and 7 minutes, but man, they're invested already. Look at this. They're already rotating middle. Oh man, with 7, dude, that is super early. If you're GV, you definitely are going to look to invest a little bit more time into these structures. Kind of give you a leg up. 2 minutes is big. And as I say that, 2244 take that bottom side altar, and man, it's looking tough. But I'm already seeing GV pulling back, which is an interesting play. They still have plenty of time. I think that the sight of seeing 2244 in mid kind of made them feel like they needed to rotate a little earlier, and I kind of wish they would have pushed up for the shrine.
And and I agree, right? Like a minute and a half, you could do a lot, right? You could flip a
Mhm.
structure and then deduct points away from that arc. But again, they turn in the arc. It's about 3,600 point lead. 2244 is going mid, and it looks like 77 is trying to counter that by now resetting their marchers, suiciding them to meet them in the middle, uh, to prepare for this next arc. Man, like I'm looking here, Bobo. Like, would have the play been to say, okay, they're rotating mid already. Do we go for these structures and flip them, and then give enough time to rotate the middle before the next arc, or just go early? And I don't know. And this second arc, is it a make? Is it if 77 loses arc, Boba, is it game over?
Ooh, with 30 minutes left, I'd like to. I pretty much think that this is going to be a 2-arc game. So that's what's surprising about this is even if GV win this next arc, they are still, because they weren't able to cut into the deficit, they are only going to be getting themselves back into the game, right? They're not going to take a lead. They're not going to, and that's the hardest part right now is that we're seeing them suicide their marches right now on the field with 5 minutes left. 2244 is already posturing forward, so they're coming in late again on the side of GV, and 2244 playing with house money, so you can kind of, if your structures are holding, you can do stuff like this. I think on the side of GV, you needed to invest a little bit more onto the outside lanes prior to coming in towards middle.
Yep.
To try to at least neutralize some of these structures so that they're not scoring points while everybody's over investing in middle.
Agreed, man. And as I'm saying that, even the 2244 did rotate to mid early. Left side, red structures are blinking furiously, man. So like they're definitely being aggressive here. So really nice play by 44 to obviously showcase that they're going mid early, but then still be on the aggression on these structures, man. So now with that ultra taken away from 77 and the Shrine of Life being contested as well, they're just taking points away to continue to increase their deficit in the event they do lose the second arc to 77. So I think this is a make or break it arc for 77 to continue to stay in the game.
Yeah, and here's the awkward timing, right? They took that ultra that you were talking about. Now they're trying to retake it, but now these marches are way out of position, right? You got 3.5 minutes, or a little bit more, before that arc spawns. They just flipped the structure, and now these marches are going to go back, march all the way forward. They'll be showing up around the 1.5 minute mark, and 2244 are probably going to be engaging before then. But I do like on the side of GV, they know that they're coming in late, so they are nowhere near like mid-game fight, right? Like 2244 is going to have to march to get to that ball, which is kind of a smart play. At the end of the day, as long as you are pushing the envelope, I would say around a minute and a half, because it gives you enough time to tussle, get your skills popped, get a little brawl in, especially with those big skills that you're going to start to see, Heaven's Grace, to the death. You really want to leave yourself a little bit of time for them to work prior to the arc spawning. So I would say about a minute and a half. If your marches are there, that's the time you're going to have to push in. On 2244, they don't need to move, right? They postured forward. They're ready to rock and roll. And so what are your predictions, Red? I'm going to ask you, do you think both teams are going to pop to the death, Heaven's Grace? What do you think's going to happen?
I think we're going to see a to the death, for sure on the 77 side. Heaven's Grace on the 44 side, but the thing is, I don't know what else 44 is going to do, because right now they're controlling the momentum of this game. They truly are. But this arc is important, just important just for 2244 as it is for 77, because if 77 gets his arc, it keeps 77 in the game. So I think we're going to see, maybe if I were both teams, I think I'm going to do both 2 to death here. That's what I think is going to happen.
Hey, man. And I think that's where it kind of varies with the younger realms and the older realms. I think it becomes more of like a chess game, where if your team is used to using to the death and they're gonna it comes a chess game. And I'm very interested to see in these younger realms, like typically you're gonna see like full aggression, like we got to be aggressive to the death. But then as you get deeper into the realms, into the older realms, you start to notice that becomes less and less. It becomes more about like survivability as opposed to just the aggression for sake of aggression. So we're going to find out together. Mystical getting popped. I suspect the big boy skills are going to be coming here in a second at War Drums.
So far it's been War Drums and Mystical on both sides. Heaven's Grace.
Ooh, there it is. I feel like if they were going to pop to the death, they would have already popped it.
I agree.
So I feel like Heaven's Grace is about to come out.
Uh-oh, I don't think so. I don't think nothing's coming out.
Oh, that's
So
not
what-
good. Oh, there
Oh,
it is.
it is.
A little
There
delay. It might be
is.
a little late, but hey, better late than never.
Is it? I mean, but look at a lot of blue marches are going away, man. But again, I was still corrected by 44. Even though they had the marches die first, showcase it in the beginning. They took this first arc, so I want to see, man. Was that late Heaven Grace like the game changer for this mid fight?
See, and I think they popped it. The reason I said it was too late, as we see a bunch of blue marches leaving, I thought it was a little late because a lot of their marches were already yellow, if not lower than yellow, and I feel like that's a little too late. I feel like you need to pop it when they're high yellows to kind of activate that and have it for a good duration. If your marches are already red, Heaven's Grace isn't gonna save it. And as we say that,
oh my gosh,
they clean the field. 77 coming out swinging.
holy!
But look at what I want you to look at, Red. Look at the score. Even winning that arc because of structures, because of a lot of different things, this is going to be like, if you're a 77, there probably needs to be the conversation of, hey guys, I think we need to actually insta capture this. I don't think that GV are gonna have the play to dominate them in occupation to kind of reel that point advantage up. Right now they're up by 4,700 points. This arc's worth 35. Nice. Fast cap. Yeah, they need to fast cap this. And we don't know. I don't know if either one of these teams run Insatiable Desire. Usually if you're gonna see it and it's gonna get popped twice, you'll see it around like the 17 to 20 minute mark and then right towards the tail end of the match. But that was very impressive on the side of GV. The final skill was a little bit off, but it wasn't completely terrible. Just a little late. But hey, they did the deed. They got their arc. Red. So now what's going through your mind? What do you think they need to do if they're on the side of GV to bring it back?
On GV, so I think they need to do Instacap. That's just my opinion. And first of all, I'm watching him marching to the desert altar. Kind of risky there, but hey, you know what? If you got the balls, you use them. So they're definitely going. And chat, just if taking it to your altar right after arc, it's quicker, but it's high risk. So I don't know, but I'm getting a little worried here. I think GV77 needs to definitely score this arc to have a third arc and then have a really great mid-fight brawl. But taking it to this altar is really risky. But
it could be scary, or it could take it to the outpost, and we could see some stuff that we saw almost saw last week. And that was sweaty. I think it is a little risky, but it's one of the closest structures, and it's probably the safer of the two between the desert altar, because every minute counts. Like if they contest it, and we saw this last week in our cast, right?
Yep.
They took it, then they ran it back, and then it turned in from like a 7-minute capture to a 25-minute capture, and so they're not wasting any time. And I like this play. For one of two things, they are gonna need the time, right?
Boom.
The only worry that I have is the skills. That's the only worry that I have, Red.
Yeah. Having full bars, right? Because I mean, with 25 minutes left, I think we'll see that, right? But will it be in time when the next arc pops up? That's the thing that I'm really excited to see. Will both teams have it? Because they pop the same skills at the same time, except for the second arc where Heaven's Grace was popped just a little bit after 44 did theirs on the side of 77. So will that be the game changer? Because 2244 will have that to the death when the third arc comes. I just want to hope that it comes in time for 77.
Now, the only thing I would say is in Instacap, when we meant by that is if you can hold reset, let your skills reset just a little bit, then capture it, you are going to make it so that there could potentially, we still might have time. Was it 7 minutes? I'm trying to do math. Math hurts. 17 captures. So there might be potential for a final sneak of a fourth, but that's going to be, if they contest it, is GG's on the fourth one. But
Yep.
If they would have held it for like 2-3 minutes and reset, let the skill bar pump a little bit, and then capture it, it still would have left plenty of time for a third arc. But I like it. They're rolling the dice, which is what I think they're going to need to do, because occupation 2244 has looked really strong in occupation.
Yep.
And I really do think that if GV is going to pull this out, it's going to be with an arc.
And as we're saying that, Boba, left altar, bottom left altar is getting rally with a mixed Guan rally. Probably a mistake. Someone messed that up a little bit, but it's okay. But you got to make sure in these championship matches, you get those little details are fine tuned, because that rally is not going to make it.
Yeah, get
it's
worked.
actually, it's still walking in its red.
Oh man, the heals and dedication are unbelievable for a lot of these Osiris League players, and I tip my cap to that, because it lets you know that they're invested in winning, and you love to see it. And man, 2244 are putting on the heat, dragging, like they're swarming some structures, boys and girls.
They're going heavy. It's like KVK for them right now. Like they're just going. Both teams are going ham. Another thing that's really important to note, Boba, is that 2244 from the occupation side have done a really good job defending and being the aggressors when it comes to structures. So they're doing a really good job on that point of view. And right now, 77 has always been on defensive in majority of the game. Yeah, structures have flipped, but 2244 is definitely, what do we always say? Keeping the momentum up on this match in terms of the aggression. So with 2,000 points difference of both teams, what's going to happen here? And I think it's going to come down to this last arc in provisions, Boba. I really think so.
That last arc's worth 4,000 points. That's a big point infusion into your game. Even if you're down by 2,000, you're gonna make that up. Then you start working on your provisions, all that kind of stuff, to kind of just coast out, and then you hold on for dear life on these altars as you kind of round out. But we got about 5 minutes before it looks like the GV are holding on to this bottom side altar. I have not flipped off of it. It's very impressive. They should move. Well, there's kind of far back. They might be able to pull back and then just go back to their obelisk. But if you are in the starting zone, you definitely are going to want to just kill off your marches for sure. But as we're looking, I'm going to go flip to mid game real quick, and 2244
is there ready.
They're there. Oh, but
Early
look,
bird gets the worm.
It was a little off screen, but look at GV. They there too,
Oh.
boys. Ooh. We're gonna have a rumble, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure, if y'all are enjoying the cast, as you said before, smash that like button. Let us know that you enjoy these casts, and don't forget to subscribe to the official Rise of Kingdoms channel, man, to bring all your Osiris League casts that you could ever want. And man, we are gonna be rounding off this match very, very soon. We got 20 minutes left, Red. And I know you've played plenty of Arc, right? On these quick flip kind of rotations towards middle, with the skills not being max, like in not ideal situations. Is there a way to kind of mitigate that a little bit? Is there specific marches maybe you might want to bring instead because you're not going to have skills, or kind of what would be your thought process as you're coming through?
I think over time, like we've kind of learned and understood like what elite teams are using the mid fights. And Boba, to be honest, like a third arc at 20 minutes for me I've never seen it in my career, like in a long time. Because usually, people are holding on to the arcs. It comes down to a third arc at the 8-minute mark. You know what I'm saying? So like it never really happens. So here, I'm really interested to see what skills they have available here. But when it comes to the march compositions, right? The buffing marches, I feel like, are the most important things. Debuff and buffing marches are the most important marches in this mid fight, because if you're a really great team and you are really in a solidified murder ball, right, having those XYs that give that debuff, the Guan's silence, and then the Trajan and Ethelfleds are huge in the middle, because if you put them all into one coordinated ball and everyone just fighting in that one circular area, everyone's dying, man. It just comes out who's gonna win first. So like those are gonna be the most important things in these mid fights, even with some skills not being available, because that's what it comes down to. Yes, gear is important, right? Max commanders are important. However, these teams right now in this stage of in the finals, are top tier teams in their realms, right? They have probably the best gear of their kingdoms. So I think that's even on that part. But how they compose themselves in the middle is gonna be really key.
And my guy, you broke it down so well. I don't even know what to say. But we
Hey,
got
man.
mystical. We got mystical coming out for both sides. We had war drums coming out now for both sides. So they did have plenty to pop. So it's very closely related to that first arc rotation. And so we're gonna see how this is gonna work without those mega skills, and see if GV are gonna be able to bring this back, as they are only down by 1,700 points now. Red. This last arc is truly going to come down to the wire, and GV are dumping and investing a lot in here.
Dude, look at like the sad faces. So, and this is what I think is happening on the GV77 side, right? So, and we tried doing this ourselves, and I know a lot of great teams are doing this now, where all the members are provided like, hey, here's a priority list. So when I say priority list, is here are the marches that everyone targets first, right? So there's 30 marches in the middle. Let's say 30 marches, 30 players in the middle with 150 marches, right? If you have all 150 players all targeting XYs first, and then you move on to the Guans next, and then you go on to the other marches afterwards, you'll see sat bases coming out quick. If you're not coordinated like that, you're going to see a lot of that. The huge advantage for the team that does that specific focus, and I think that's what 77 is doing here right now, man. They're all targeting specific marches first, because you can't call out, oh, hey, I'm hitting the left Guan or I'm hitting the right Guan, right? Just everyone targeted Guan first. Everyone targeted XY first, and that can definitely be a huge game changer in the middle. But as I'm saying that, Bulba, just kidding, because it's all blue in the middle now. Oh, man. Yeah, here it looks like 2244 are definitely taking this. And they definitely have taken this. Now it's going to come down to what is 77 going to do without this arc being available. So I think there's some audio issues with Bulba's end because I don't hear him as well. But chat. Oh, there he is.
I was muted. I didn't want to cover you up. My bad. My bad. Your beauty shine too bright. Your beauty shine too bright. So what I was saying was, on the, like, with them already playing at a deficit, right? This arc only enhances that. So if you're a GV, right, the main focus that you need to be focused on is you need to focus on structures. Like, they're running mid right now as I'm looking at the bottom side or top side as they're trying to enter, and the arc carrier is legitimately he's gone. Like, he's by the altar on the other side, you know. So that communication needs to happen at some point, where people need to stop rotating out and start rotating in and rotate out, because right now they're contesting and fighting this to try to protect this shrine, when they probably need to try neutralizing this arc carrier. But as we say that, man, it's gonna be a tough hill, man, a tough hill to climb. Step one, they need to put pressure on these structures, right? You see through all the 4 altars, that can do some damage in 15 minutes. But holding that for 15 minutes is a whole other story. And then it's going to come down to provisioning. There's Insatiable.
There it is. Yep. Are we going to see that on the same side of 77? Yeah, but this is going to be tough, man. As you know, there could be a 4th arc, but I think on the 2244 side, I don't think they would. I don't think they would want it. They would hold on to it for the last 3 minutes. Like, because 13 minutes left, leaves about 2.5 minutes left in the match. They're going to hold on to this arc to the last minute.
Yeah. Well, they don't even have to. It would be until, so they got to hold it for another like 7 minutes.
Good point.
And then they don't even need to worry about it. Another one won't spawn. So they'd be good on that front, you know, as we're looking. And it's been kind of the tale of the story that's consistently going on with 2244's occupation game, looking so strong. And like, even running the arc, they instantly flip. And, you know, they're just flipping structures. They're neutralizing. To a certain point in the game, neutralizing becomes almost, if you're playing with the lead, almost becomes just as good as scoring points.
Yep.
Because your opponent just isn't.
Yeah, man. Like right now, 77 is definitely doing their best to kind of take these structures to kind of make this game as close as possible. You know, with those Pakal rallies, and I think the play is there with the Pakal rallies. Like as I'm looking at the top desert altar, is most teams swarm down rallies as they hit the defending structure. But Pakal is obviously something that you don't want to swarm in all situations. But in Arc, the great thing is your troops don't die. However, this Bakal doesn't give a huge amount of damage on the structure, so it really comes down to the swarming marches to finish the job. But this rally is holding up, and I think they can take this desert altar from 2244 to have all 4 altars in their possession.
Ooh,
is that going to be enough?
It's getting close. So this is the part, like if you're GV, that you need to switch on your strategy, right? They keep sending the Pakal Herald rallies, and it honestly should be the other way around. You'll start to see it, at least in Arc, you will see a lot. If you're going to send infantry, it's going to be a Herald call, if anything. More often than not, you're probably just going to send Cav because it's all about speed, right? Even if it gets melted, then you reset, resend, speed, speed, speed. By the time Pakal marches down the entire field, you've wasted like 3 minutes of march time. And it's just about rinse and repeat. It's about ebb and flow of marches, and Pakal is just too slow. So that's the one thing that I would say. If they adapt that, it could tweak a little bit of the timing, a little bit of the occupation, and kind of help them out a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. And as we're saying that, hard push is pushed on the 77 side, so they're definitely going all in on structures. But Boba, a thing that you always talk about is that I didn't see Insatiable Desire on the side of 77. Is that going to be crucial? What do you think?
When you're trying to pull back a lead, or pull back a deficit, hey, you're going to be pulling everything out of your hat. You know what I mean? Like you're holding. Yeah, I may even, to be honest with you, I might even have invested more Valiant Stand than Insatiable Desire, because the structure game, you can play with either one of those being more important, but I feel like they would get more points from holding an altar for a long time than the Insatiable. So that becomes where your strategy comes into play. If your provisioner is really strong, that can definitely be a huge benefit, or if you have multiple. But like you always say, it doesn't make a difference if people don't know that you have to hop out of the node, hop back in the node for it to take effect. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. And as we're saying that, Red, 4 altars in favor of GV. They're trying to do their thing, hold on to these for as long as they can with 12 minutes left.
Yep, and yeah, with 12 minutes left, the hard push is definitely, did some work, because for like at least 2 minutes, the points per minute was 290 to 740 in favor of a GV, but 2044 was able to get one of their altars back. So 77 is doing the right things to keep them in the game, because right now 77 has the lead, Bulba. Not major, but 700 points. So they're definitely cutting that deficit now. So they need to continue putting pressure on these structures, getting more points in favor of occupation, and get some provisions in. But I see some provisioning, but not a whole lot on the side of 77.
Yeah, and like we were saying, right, the aggressors typically are going to do better in Osiris League. And 2244 have been the aggressors, right? This bottom side lane has consistently got pounded over and over. It's like a wave, a consistent wave over and over and over again. So, we're going to keep our eyes on this, the GV, as they tussle it out with 10 minutes left. Man, it is going to get really close here as we get down to the wire. 400
points, Boba. It's going to be a very, very close one. This is going to be a long 10 minutes and 40 seconds for both teams. I can't imagine what's going both through their minds, but they definitely, the play of the game is going to be happening within these 10 minutes, and we'll see who's going to come on top on that, Boba.
Yeah, man, man, I'm trying to figure out for GV what they could possibly do. They just lost another altar. They were holding 4, now they're at 2. The aggression's kicking in for 2244, so these altars are all going to be under attack. You got 10 minutes left. This arc's, pretty much out. They'll give it a couple more minutes and then capture it, and that's the last arc. That'll be worth 4,000 points, so that's going to put them up. But at the end of the day, I think they needed it. You know what I mean? In my personal opinion, I think we were sitting on whether or not they needed another arc, and I think the occupation in itself shows that they did need it for sure. And I know that it'll come back, and people are going to say, why did they capture it, so on and so forth, because 2244s look extremely strong in occupation. I think that they were going to need those points. I think the timing was maybe a little off, but you know, at the end of the day, that massive ball from 2244 was not going down with the marches that they had for GV.
Yep, I agree, man. And the mid fight too was another factor too, right? Because the timing of when turning in that second arc didn't allow them to get enough skill bars to pop to the death, right? So in my mind, was that a huge factor of 77 losing that mid fight? So you know, we'll see what happens in the next 9 minutes. But the lead is still in favor of 77, about 600 points. So we'll see what the provisioning does here, because this arc is this is the third arc bowl. So it's 4,000 points. So that's a pretty good chunk, man, that you got to dwindle down in this short amount of time.
And I'm zooming in on this desert altar, and I want y'all to see, if y'all can't see it, these white numbers taking almost double, if not triple negative for the Pakal rally, and they're not even swarming the Pakal against Zenobia. So that's what I'm trying to say. He just does not pack a big enough punch to be effective, right? And just tweaking that in its own right may actually help GV in the next match, because like we were saying, there's adaptations. This is best out of 3. You have next week to come back, make some alterations. And I'm interested to see if they switch that up to an XY, or if they switch that up to, you know, I don't know necessarily if an Archer rally is going to do that well just because of reinforcements, but at least switching it to a Cav rally and consistently sending it, if that's going to change their plan up a little bit for GV.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of in other matches. Like I think the one that we casted last week, there was a lot of Attila Nevsky rallies that were happening on these garrisons. So that definitely could be good modification to see, because again, it puts a little more damage. But you know, Archers could be interesting though, because I've seen a lot of Xenos on the side of 2244. So we'll see what 77 does do in the next match to kind of counter, you know, what they were doing today on the side of 2244. But again, as Bull mentioned, it's best out of 3. So whoever comes out the victor here will have the advantage, but it's still anybody's game. We've seen a lot of comebacks in a lot of different sports, and this could be one of them if 77 does lose his match.
Yeah, and that's what makes these interesting. We got 7 minutes left, right? They captured the arc. Now it's just 7 minutes of pure onslaught on structures. As I do like what I'm seeing from the side of GV, right? Every structure that's blue is blinking, right? Whether they win it or lose it, that tells me that they are progressing forward on the map. They are being the aggressors, which has not been the case for the most part of the match, which is what kind of decided it for me. You know what I mean? Like, you need to see from GV's side consistently the free roaming that 2244 had all the way up the map before they got an engagement. Like, having that freedom to roam is crucial, because at that point you're always playing on your back foot. You're legitimately jumping out of your city, and within like 10 seconds you're getting hit by marches that march across the entire field untouched.
Agreed. You have to contest them, right? You got to make their marches yellow. You got to make them, I guess, not have enough field presence to really be an aggressor. And I hope that, you know, this is what 77 is doing on their side to kind of defend their structures, but also taking them. But as we're saying that, well, there's 3 altars in the side of 77, so this lead is slowly being ticked away. But is 6 minutes enough time to change that? And Swift Stride was popped, but I don't know if you saw that. And I didn't see what side who it was on, but was it on the 77 side?
I didn't see, brother. I know I saw Swift Stride, but I didn't see the name. I think it was. I thought it was for 2244, but I could be wrong. Which it makes sense, because they are now applying pressure across the entire field. Like we were saying on the bottom side, man, it's just the little things we keep talking about, where they're constantly insatiable, coming for the second time for 2244. So
wow.
the provisioning is going to be, we're going to keep our eyes on that, because that's going to be a huge indicator of, you know, they are investing skills into insatiable. But, you know, GV hasn't. And I don't, unless they've been provisioning with 2-3 people the entire match, I don't know if they're going to make that deficit up as they try to reel in this. It's a little over 3,000, so they are cutting it in.
Yep.
But with 5 minutes left, it's all about neutralizing structures. If you're a GV, overinvest, neutral, 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 and you need to start sending a couple extra marches to provision just for a couple minutes.
Yeah, man, with such short amount of time, I don't know if 77 can pull this off. Again, it's the best out of 3, so they're still in this fight, but 2244 has definitely made the right moves to kind of put this in their back pocket for this match, because 4 minutes and 20 seconds left, man. There's not a lot you can do. And again, the Insatiable Desire, the double Insatiable Desire happened on the side of 2244. So they're definitely provisioning, and I'm really interested to see what the provisioning score is on both sides, because I think Occupation will be in favor of 2244.
Yeah, and I like the comment that somebody said, the question. It was like, the best defense is an offense. In a game mode like this, sometimes it is, because it becomes about pressure. It's a momentum, right? It's, if you're coming out of your city getting pummeled by the enemy, as opposed to freedom to run across the field and then pummel your enemy, a game mode like this becomes crucial with being offensive. When you need to be defensive, a lot of the times it's survivability in mid game, like which marches you're gonna take. But on the outside lanes, it's all about speed, baby. If you're putting the aggression on your opponent, are you applying? Are you, sending aggressive rallies? Or like, it becomes about that more than it becomes about being defensive. I think now with the new meta, I think back in the day you could have got away with being defensive, because I remember those Richard Caesar Garrison, like you could tank for days. But now with the new metas and new rallies, it's you're just holding on for dear life at that point. But Red, you've experienced it hands on. How easy is it to defend rather than be the aggressor in your mind?
I think man, I've always been on the aggressive side. So the lane that I'm in specifically, we're the aggressor on the enemy Sky Altar. I honestly think that defending is harder than attacking, because you have to consistently micromanage your marches. You got to put in a fresh march every time your marches go low inside. So I think being a defender is a much more recognized role in an arc. Because aggressive, you just send your marches down and swarm them. But the thing about being an aggressor, though, is that you definitely, when you put pressure, you mess up people's timings. Right? If the team can't defend well enough, or they do defend well enough, but the opposing team that was the aggressor put a lot of hurt on your marches and mess up your timings, that's a huge advantage, man. And right now, I think that 2244 has done a really good job about that, about being the aggressor and then disrupting the ability for 77 to be on the offense. Because right now, as I watch some of these fights at these altars, 77 are just 100% killing the marches off of the opposing side. So let's say they won the defense, right? They're like this one. They're going to win it right now. They're killing off the marches. The key thing is to keep them red and leave them alone. So the return time is so much longer on the side of 2244, and then you can be an aggressor right after that.
Correct. And I think that's the mindset of like a top tier player, right? Like, when we're showing this to y'all guys, I know a lot of people are seeing a lot of fighting going down on this bottom side altar. The difference is, right, if we were watching this between 1v or another team, the second that rally was hitting red,
Done. Leave it.
They're done. They're leaving it. They're instantly leaving the structure and marching forward onto the field in order to regain the momentum that they gave up in an effort to stay back here. There's no need for you to hold all your marches here, because now what's happening is 2244 are just freely progressing. Look at this. They're going to freely progress all the way from their obelisk all the way down the field without getting touched at all. So if your marches would have left, you would have parked some, and I'll point it out, you would have parked some of your reinforcements on this backside. You would still need a couple reinforcements, but you don't need to swarm everything down until it's 0. Once it turns red, bye. Your garrison, for the most part, if you have a Xeno or a Jad, will hold on and just absolutely tank all of these yellow and red marches for sure. And they're, like you said, staying on the field longer than they needed to be, because the fastest march is the dead march. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day.
Completely agree, my friend. And another thing that I was noticing all match too is that 2244 was doing a great job at flipping the outposts on their position. Like, they were constantly flipping it, and at one point it was 3 outposts in favor of 2244. So they were doing a really good job at just being annoying in different areas of the map, and then dominating the first arc. So 2244 was doing. I did a really good job, man, in my opinion, on securing this victory. But GG's to both teams.
You know what I want to see before we click over to it. They only won by 3,000 points, Red.
Yeah, really close.
And they double popped Insatiable Desire. So that's that. We're gonna see it here in a minute. But GG's to both teams. Most valuable player in GV77, Tran, with almost 300,000.
No big deal.
No big deal. Just slight. Look at that. Even with double Insatiable, they only beat them by 1,000 points in provisioning. That's actually impressive on the side of GV. That if they implemented at least one pop of Insatiable,
yeah,
this could, those are the little things that you trade at the very end where you don't pop hard push, but maybe you pop Insatiable. You kind of buff this up a little bit and you bring it, kind of reel them in. But as we were looking, look just the tail of the tape. 2 arcs to 1, 7,000 points to 3,500 in favor of 2244. But the occupation, it did not feel like that. And I know we talk about this every single season, Red.
Mm-hmm. It did not feel like that. That's really close. A little over 1,000 points in occupation was the difference between two. So I'm really surprised with that. So it looks like 77 definitely, had that. And I don't know if it came from the first touches that happened in the beginning of the match, but GG's to 77 on winning the occupation side. But provisioning, double Insatiable Desire definitely was a factor of taking that 1,500 points from provisioning on the side of 2244. But the kills, Boba, look at that.
for Bastet, let's go.
Holy moly. I didn't feel that either. I don't know. Did you?
I didn't feel that either, especially with Pakal rallies. I never would have guessed that.
Holy moly.
I never would have guessed that. But those mid fights, maybe, it's one of those, that's the power of the altars, right? I know we were looking at occupation, power of the altars. And when they held them for 3-4 pops, it was holding and bringing them back in. And that's why this match was so close. But at the end of the day, it's Arc. It's Arc of Osiris for a reason. Those big point jumps, they would have won this match if they had that fourth Arc. And that's the crucial part to understand. We're pulling hairs at this point, but little subtle changes in timing and maybe a couple of skill changes might actually benefit GV as they rewatch this back and kind of notice some of those things as well. But yeah, Great. Red, I'm gonna flip back over real quick and man,
great match.
Great match on the side of Bastet. I'm beyond excited for it. Man, I'm not sure which cast we're going to be doing next week, but we do have week 2 coming in. And yeah, man, it's going to be a doozy. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, to subscribe to the official Rise of Kingdoms channel. I know we keep saying it for all your Osiris League content that you want to catch. Definitely go check out both Redline and I's channel. We are creating a lot of rock content, yes, for y'all. So hopefully y'all are enjoying that as well. And I'm excited to see y'all, or I may not see y'all next week, but Red will be here for sure for next week's cast for the week 2 in the championship, Red. So as you sign off, any final thoughts before we head out, Red?
Nope. You said everything beautifully, man. To everybody, make sure to like, subscribe, not only to the Rise of Kingdom channel, but also to me and Boba. And we appreciate you guys for always tuning in. Have a great day.
Have a good one. Bye.